Sharpe was born into a poor family in Glenville, Georgia. His parents split when he was just 3 months old, immediately giving him adversity to overcome. Basic needs were not guaranteed in the rural South, and neither was his family's safety. In fact, during his Hall of Fame speech, Sharpe explained that, "We were so poor, a robber once broke into our house, and we ended up robbing the robber." To make matters worse, Sharpe's father passed away from cancer when he was in his early teens, leaving him without a father figure for a large part of his youth. Luckily for Shannon and his siblings, his grandmother, Mary Porter, stepped in to raise them. Porter also helped take care of several other extended family members.
See, my grandmother and grandfather, they raised me, and I hung on everything they say, but they didn't know it.
So everyone lived packed into one small home, barely fit for a family of 4.
You know, there was no paneling in the house. There was no insulation in the house. It was basically cinder block. It was really, really cold in the winter.
But while the Sharpe family didn't have much, what Shannon and his older brother Sterling did have was sports. That was going to be their way out. At Glenville High School, Sterling was a superstar athlete playing basketball, football, and running track. He became a high-profile football recruit that took his talents to the University of South Carolina. Shannon had hoped to follow in his brother's footsteps, and as an athlete, he did. He was also a star multi-sport athlete, but in the classroom he struggled, so his only offer came from the local Division II school, Savannah State. Sharpe would continue to play multiple sports at Savannah, playing basketball, competing in track and field events, and suiting up for the Tigers football team. But it was quickly obvious that the gridiron was where Sharpe was at his best. Shannon set many records while at Savannah State, totaling a whopping 192 receptions for 3,744 receiving yards and 40 touchdowns over 4 years. And while Shannon was dominating the inferior D2 competition, his brother Sterling was doing the same at USC. At South Carolina, Sterling set nearly every receiving record, which led to him being drafted 7th overall by the Green Bay Packers in 1988. Then, by just his second year in the NFL, he was already a first-team All-Pro. But despite his brother's instant success, nobody was paying close attention to Shannon. While Sterling was the ideal NFL wide receiver, the future NFL legend was written off and seen as a project rather than a weapon. Little did they know, Shannon would go on to change the course of the tight end position forever. Because after a grueling 6 rounds undrafted in the 1990 NFL Draft,
that round 1 was off the table. But I thought I was good enough to be a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick. Put the phone, and it was the Broncos. And they said, "We selected you in the 7th round."
But like other teams' evaluations of Sharpe, they didn't believe he was a tight end. Instead, they committed to playing him as a wide receiver. Denver failed. Over 1990 and 1991, Sharpe's first 2 NFL seasons, he totaled just 29 receptions for 421 receiving yards. Legendary QB John Elway was leading the offense, but Sharpe struggled to make an impact. And to make things worse, this was all happening while Shannon lived in the shadow of his brother Sterling. While Shannon was trying to get his footing in the NFL, Sterling continued racking up All-Pro and Pro Bowl honors for the Green Bay Packers. So Shannon struggling to make an impact only created a sense that one brother was meant for NFL greatness and the other was simply a role player. In 1992, Sharpe finally broke through expectations and never looked back. Broncos head coach Dan Reeves decided to play Sharpe where he belonged, at tight end, and the results were immediate. Sharpe exploded for 53 receptions and 640 receiving yards, which led all tight ends in the league. The Broncos had found something special. Of course, the other NFL teams had talented tight ends that were putting up numbers, but Denver had only scratched the surface of what Sharpe could become. In the 1993 season, Sharpe reached new heights again, and as his relationship with John Elway grew, so did his numbers. The Broncos tight end had a whopping 81 receptions for 995 yards and 9 touchdowns. For the first time, Sharpe was named first-team All-Pro. That's a special honor for any player, but it also marked the first and only time that Shannon was named to the squad during the same year as his brother Sterling. Shannon was no longer living in his brother's shadow. Instead, they were shining together.